police found the decapitated body of a female, the bodies of 3 children, and the partial remains of at least 11 other bodies in the ruins of the fire, and they thought they had got their girl, but they were sorely mistaken. Ruthless Black Widow Murders number 3. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm G and I do true crime videos. If you like the video, make sure you like and subscribe and share with your friends because that helps a ton. And this is the 3rd video in our Ruthless Black Widow Murder series, and I'll leave a link to the full playlist if you haven't watched the previous video. So let's talk about Bella. Bella was born Brynhild Polstata Storseth as a Norwegian girl on the 11th of November 1859. Her parents were Paul and Berit Storseth, and Bella was the youngest of their 8 kids. And at the age of just 14 years old, Bella began to work in neighboring farms, milking the cattle and herding them sometimes because she wanted to save enough money to help her migrate to the U.S. By 1881, she had saved enough money, and so she migrated, and during the immigration process, she changed her first name to Bella and then migrated to Chicago to go meet her older sister Nellie, who had migrated to the US several years earlier. Bella then spent the next 3 years living in Chicago with her sister Nellie and her husband, where she worked as a servant or sometimes at a butcher's shop until she met her husband in 1884. Bella and Matt Sorensen got married in 1984, and together they owned a candy shop which was not doing too well for at least 2 years. And during that time they had 2 kids, and she took life insurance policies on those kids as soon as they were born. Both kids ended up dying of an inflammation of their large intestine while they were still babies, and obviously because she had taken a life insurance on them, she received a big paycheck for each of the kids. The neighbors began to gossip about Bella because they feel like Bella did not appear to be pregnant. After 2 years of struggling with their shop and not seeing really good profits, the couple thought it would be a good idea to take out an insurance policy on the store, which is what they did. And soon after that, there was a sudden fire and the store burnt down, and their home also burnt down, giving the couple a large payout in insurance money for both properties that had burnt. Bella's husband had a life insurance policy of $2,000, which was going to expire on the 30th of July 1890, and he decided to purchase a second life insurance policy to take over the expiring one, and he decided to purchase it for $3,000, and it was going to become active on the 30th of July 1890. So immediately the first one is over, the next one takes over. And that same day, Bella explained that he came home with a really terrible headache, so she decided to give him some quinine powder, which was like a local remedy you could give someone if they were not feeling well at that time. She proceeded to go and prepare dinner, but by the time she returned, he had already died, and he was found to have died of cerebral hemorrhage. So the doctor wondered if she might have given him morphine powder instead of quinine powder, so he asked for the package in which it came in, but Bella said she had already thrown it away. So her husband ended up dying on the 30th of July 1890, which was the perfect date where both life insurance policies overlapped and they were both active. Due to Sorensen's perfectly timed death, Bella got the life insurance policy from both companies, which amounted to $5,000 in those days, which in today's money is about $150,000. I mean, these widows are making bank more than the first widow who did most of the murders. With all the money she had recently come to, Bella bought a 48-acre farm in 1901, and the following year she decided to get married to a Norwegian guy called Belle Gunness. But just 8 months after their marriage, Peter was found dead with a huge dent in his skull that had been bashed in. Obviously, it looked suspicious, but Bella was crying hysterically and told the doctor that he was trying to reach for something in a higher shelf and a meat grinder had fallen onto his head. They did suspect foul play, but after all the investigation, there was no evidence otherwise, so they ruled his death an unfortunate accident. Since the new widow had just come into some new money and she received the life insurance policy of her late husband Peter, and it was $3,000, which amounts to about $120,000 in today's money. In 1905, Bella was getting bored, so she placed ads in the newspapers in Norwegian language, asking for men to come with money to invest in her farm and also for a relationship, just advertising herself and her farm, kind of like business and a relationship. And her first victim was a guy called Henry. He moved to the farm and later wrote his family that he liked it there and the farm was good, the place was nice, and they should send some money for seed for them to invest. And after a while, the family did not hear from him again. They tried to contact Bella, but she told the family that he had taken off with some horse traders that he had met to Chicago. In 1906, she met another guy, John Moy, whom they had been talking for a while from that ad that she had placed. He decided to finally go over to the farm and he withdrew a large sum of money, which was like $1,000, which translates to about $30,000. He went there and no one ever heard from him again, even though a carpenter who worked at her house noticed that the guy's truck, just like the truck of the previous guy, remained in her house along with other trucks. A bunch of other guys kept coming through the ads and they always came with money, like George Berry, who came with over $1,500 at that time, which translates to about $45,000 now. Christian Hilkven sold his farm for over $2,000 and brought the money there, which translates to about $60,000 now. Another guy, Emil Tell, showed up with $2,000, which is about $60,000. And another guy, Oli Botsberg, came with $1,000, which is about $30,000 in today's money. And all of these guys showed up there but never returned, and no one ever saw or heard from them again. And their trucks were left parked at Bella's farm. A lot of guys she ended up inviting to her farm were Norwegian bachelors who were not in close contact with their family, had some money, and she always painted this picture of a good life that they were going to have with some nice Norwegian home cooking that she was going to do for them. And so they rushed in and never came out. In 1907, Bella hired a local carpenter called Ray Lamford to do chores around and take care of the place for her, but they soon became lovers, and soon after they had a terrible breakup which involved lawsuits of her alleging that he was always harassing her, and he was tried for them but he was acquitted. There was a lot of drama in their breakup, and she kept telling people that he had threatened to burn down her farm and her house. On April 27, 1908, there was indeed a fire and her entire home burnt down. And when the police arrived there from the ruins, they found that there were 3 kids that had burnt to death. Throughout the years, Bella had many kids, and it's unsure if she fostered them, adopted them, or they were her kids, because she had 2 kids who had died, and now 3 kids died in the fire. So they had found a headless female body, but they were not sure it was Bella's, so they were trying to identify this body by finding the head. So local men showed up with shovels to dig around the farm to find the head and identify the body of the female that had been found. But what they found was a lot worse. On May 4th, one of the shovels hit what seemed to be flesh, and when they dug around, they found out it was an arm. They kept digging around the area and found a lot of different body parts, heads, torsos, arms just lying around. They continued digging and found body parts of at least 11 people. One of the victims was Jenny Olsen, which was a little girl that Bella had adopted and raised her like her own child. 2 years ago, Bella had told everyone that Jenny had gone to California to study until they saw her body there. Since Bella had been telling everyone that Ray had been threatening to burn her house, Ray had been arrested since the fire broke out, and he was charged with murder and arson. By May 5th, everyone knew about the bodies that had been found in Bella's house, and newspapers had given her different names. And 2 of my favorite were The Mistress of the Castle of Death and Hell's Princess. Barely a week after the first body was found, everyone was flocking in to come and see the murder farm, and hotels in Michigan City and LaPorte area all were fully booked, and on Sunday that week, at least 10,000 people were expected to come and satisfy their morbid curiosity. When the fire first broke out, news reporters reported her as this lady who died in a fire trying to save her kids and they all ended up dying. But when they found the bodies, they had different ideas of her, and people knew exactly who she was. And that Sunday, when they were expecting about 10,000 tourists, they ended up getting between 16,000 to 20,000 people visit the grave, and people were even trying to take like souvenirs, I would say. And people it was literally like a festival site, which goes a lot to say about us. We are really curious species. Ray was found guilty of arson but not murder, but he ended up dying just a year after his sentence. He died of tuberculosis. The height of the decapitated female that had been found was measured, and she was found to be shorter than Bella, and the width did not match either. So it was concluded that that was not Bella, and no one really knows whatever happened to Belle Gunness, if she died in the fire and her body was never found, which is very unlikely, or if she got away with it. This is one of those cases where you would say she probably got away with it, and she might as well have started the fire herself just to become a legend and go get herself a new name or something somewhere else, because she had the finances to be able to do that. So far, this is the richest Black widow yet, and she really made some good money from all of this poisoning. Some dogs were also found in the excavation process, where Bella had used them to test the poison she was going to end up using on the rest of her victims. And $1,000 of Bella's time is equivalent to $30,000 now. So let me know in the comments how much Bella made from all the people she had killed, and the first comment with the right answer gets pinned. That was it for me today, guys. Remember to be the best version of yourself, because changing the world starts with you. And on the right, you're going to see the most brutal cases ever committed, and on the left, you are going to see all the other Black widow murders we have gone through so far. See you tomorrow.